For the adventurous, for the backbone of America, for those who rise early and rest not, for the weary traveler. Welcome to the Squatch Grist Trucking Podcast, where we dive into the world of trucking. Whether you're just starting or a seasoned vet, join us on this adventure. We're journeying into the heart of trucking, where legends are born and the asphalt stretches into the unknown. This is where bravery and freedom collide, where truckers aren't just truckers, but explorers of the vast, untamed highways. So strap in and buckle up, because you're about to get squatched.
Hey guys, welcome back to episode 14 of the Squatch Grist Trucking Podcast. I'm your host, Dakota Kaufman, and in today's episode, we're going to be talking about navigating trucking insurance claims. Insurance claims can be stressful. There's a lot happening. It's chaotic, but they don't have to be. So hopefully today, this episode can help you kind of navigate the ins and outs of claims, what not to do, and how to hold everybody accountable in claims, whether it's the insurance company or whatever. All right, guys, let's talk about, in our first segment here, we're going to talk about just deciphering your insurance policy, right? There's a lot of legal jargon. There's a lot of exclusions. There's a lot of stuff to look at in an insurance policy. And so we're going to dive into kind of what the various insurance policies that you may have as a trucker, whether that's auto liability, physical damage, cargo, general liability, whatever it is. And each of those policies are going to have exclusions and things that they don't cover and different claims processes for each one. And so there's a lot of things to look at, and there's a lot of legal jargon that you can kind of get mauled down in if you're not careful. So you want to check your policy. The first thing you want to do when you have a claim is look at your policy and see what coverages you have, call your insurance agent, all that stuff. So it's important that you understand the fine print of your insurance policy, because there are going to be things in there that weren't in black and white, right? They're going to be smaller letters. You have to look at that stuff and make sure that everything, that maybe your agent or the carrier told you was in there is actually in there. Know your coverage limits, know your deductibles, know your exclusions before you get in an accident, right? When you buy that policy, those are things that you should know. And we talked about that in episode 10. So you can go back and listen to episode 10 there, and where we talk about understanding your insurance policy, how to shop your insurance policy, that type of stuff. So you should know your exclusions and deductibles and all of that stuff before you get your policy. That way, when you do get in a claim, you have peace of mind and you know, I have this coverage, right? So it's important, though, that you know those things. It reflects your current operations, covers what you do, that type of stuff. Before you sign any quotes or anything, you should know what your policy does not cover. Does it only cover scheduled trucks or scheduled drivers? So that's only trucks or drivers that are on the policy. And so you have to look at some of that and know the ins and outs of your insurance policy, what it covers, what it doesn't. And one thing you can do to help with some of that is conduct quarterly reviews, maybe with your insurance agent or insurance company, or maybe it's just at renewal, right? But go over your policy with your agent and with your carrier. Your agent should already be doing this stuff, should be going over your policy with you, should be going over the exclusions and all of that with you. But if they aren't, make sure that they do it, right? Hold them accountable to that, because that's their job. And they should be explaining to you what coverages are in your policy and what coverages aren't. So yeah, do that. Whether it's just every renewal or whether you do it quarterly, whatever, but just make sure that you put that in process where you do review your policy. Then obviously the best thing to do is avoid claims altogether if we can, right? And so there's a lot of things that cause accidents, and trucking accidents are usually pretty severe. So it's important that you create a safety of culture, that you hire good drivers, that type of stuff to prevent claims. Claims are not fun. They're not fun to deal with, and they can make your insurance rates go up, right? And so the best practice is to prevent the claims. And the way you do that is by creating a culture of safety, making sure you get good inspections. But we want to prevent insurance claims if we can. We also want insurance to be there if we need it. And so we're going to talk about how to navigate some of that stuff whenever a claim does happen, because there are times where insurance carriers are really burdensome to deal with, and the claims process is super confusing on purpose. And it shouldn't be, but it is at times. And so we're just going to talk about how to navigate some of these things. And we hope this video helps you. Maybe you've just had a claim or whatever, and you're doing some research. Hopefully this video will help you kind of navigate that and make sure that you don't get the short end of the stick when it comes to your claim. Okay, so let's talk about how we file a claim. How do you file a claim? The first thing that you should do if you're ever in an accident is get a police report. Call the police and make sure that they have a report of some sort, right? I can't tell you how many times we've had somebody call in to file a claim and they don't have a police report. And then at that point, it's like, your word against theirs, right? And so if something goes haywire, there's no police report for concrete evidence. I mean, if you have a camera and you have pictures and all that stuff, that goes a long ways, but a police report is very, very solid, when it comes to proving fault or anything like that. Or let's say you're in a no-fault state and you don't call the police and it can't be really determined on who's at fault because you didn't call the police, then the insurance company is going to go 50-50. And so it's a pain if you do that. So always get a police report. That's the number one thing that you should always do. Call the police. Document everything and get pictures and information. So the information that you should get, let's go through this list here. This is information that you should get if you are involved in a claim or in an accident and you're having to file a claim. Name, address, and phone number of the other drivers and a photo of their driver's license if possible. You want to get their insurance policy numbers and the carrier that it's with. You want to get the year, make, model, and license plate numbers of all vehicles involved, photos of accident scene and vehicle damages, detailed notes from any conversations that you had, whether that's with the cop or the other driver or whatever. Take notes as well. After that, contact your insurance agent or your company. Let them know what happened, give them detailed, send them the pictures, send them the police report, all of that stuff. Get that claim filed if need be. And then review your policy's coverage. When you're on the phone with the insurance company or your agent, go through the policy coverages. That way there's no surprises a few days down the road and you find out, man, I didn't have that coverage that I needed and now I'm on the hook for some money, right? So go through those coverages, while you're on the phone with your insurance company. So yeah, those are just a few things that you'll want to have whenever you're getting ready to file a claim with your insurance company. Make sure you have the good documentation, pictures, a police report, all of that stuff. So make sure that you have that when you call to file a claim with your insurance company. And then let's talk a little bit of how to collaborate with insurance adjusters. Most of the time, insurance adjusters are trying to get you money. They're usually not trying to short you. There are times that they do, and so you have to hold them accountable for sure. But most of the time, the insurance adjuster is kind of on your side, right? Like they're trying to get the check cut to you as fast as they can. And so, but you also want to make sure that number one, you're working with them, but number two, that you're not going to be taken advantage of by the insurance company. So make sure that they're giving you a fair valuation for your vehicle, all of that stuff. And we have a lot of resources, for our clients when they go through claims process to make sure that they're getting fair valuations and that they're paying the body shops what they need to do and they're not lowballing everything. Your insurance agent should be very involved in the claims process as much as they can be, right? Sometimes the carrier limits the agent on what they can do in the claim, but we can be involved. We can be involved, and your agent should be pretty involved when it comes to, especially commercial claims, trucking claims. You should be pretty involved as an insurance agent in what's happening and making sure that everybody's getting paid like they need to, and the claim's not taking too long, that type of stuff. Or if there is something holding it up, they can step in and say, "This is the documents that we're needing." So let's talk about some of the claim challenges that you'll probably come in contact with when you go to file an insurance claim. Oftentimes, truckers get the short end of the stick when it comes to insurance claims, and a lot of times the fault, So some other issues a lot of times, though, with trucking claims, it's a slow claims process and downtime for your company. So one thing that you could do is make sure that your policy has rental reimbursement on that policy to cover downtime, that type of stuff. But one big thing, don't get lost in the sauce. Make sure your agent's involved to help kind of keep a handle on everything, because claims are super chaotic. And if you're not careful, you can just get lost in the sauce. You'll get confused, and then at that point, you won't even know what's happening really, right? And so make sure that make sure you have an agent that understands trucking claims and trucking insurance, because you can get, like I said, you can get lost in the sauce really, really quickly because there's just so many moving parts. And so understand your policy, make sure you have a good agent, make sure they're involved in that claims process with you, all of that stuff. It's important that you are patient, right? But you need to also be persistent about your claim. If you don't feel like they're giving you a fair price for whatever it is, whether it's a trailer or a truck, be persistent about it. It's okay to argue with the adjuster. It's okay to argue with the insurance company and say, no, that's not enough. You can do things like that. There's a few things that you can do. There's depreciated value clauses. There's independent adjuster clauses in your policy that every single one will have, where you're able to say, I want an independent adjuster because I don't feel like you're giving me a fair price for my truck. So if you're going through a claims process right now, and you don't feel like the insurance company is giving you a fair shake, hire an independent adjuster, or email your insurance company and say, I want to invoke the independent adjuster clause in my policy. And at that point, they have to get a third party that's not related to their company in any way, and they have to hire them to adjust the claim. And a lot of times when you do that, that independent adjuster is on your side. And so, yeah, if you don't feel like you're getting a fair shake on your claim, that's something that you can do. Also, another thing that you can add to your claim is depreciated value. So let's say your truck's not totaled, but it is damaged and it has to go to the body shop and get repaired. At that point, your truck isn't as valuable as it was before the accident. And most insurance policies have depreciated value clauses in the verbiage of their policy. And so those are just a couple things that you can look at. But yeah, hold that company accountable, hold the adjuster accountable, be persistent, but also be patient at the same time, right? Because claims sometimes can be kind of messy to navigate everything, right? And it may not be as fast as you want it to be, but most of the time the insurance company is trying to get everything settled and everything taken care of. We have seen them drag their feet, and at that time, you got to get after somebody, right? But most of the time, the insurance company is trying to get it resolved for you in a fair way. But there are times where they don't. So you have to be patient, but you also have to be persistent, right? So just make sure that you can maintain operation during a claim, right? Because there's going to be a little bit of delay there, especially if you just have one or two trucks, right? If you just have one or two trucks, you need to be able to run still. And so how you can do that is make sure that you have rental reimbursement on your policy, right? And so that just means that when your truck is down due to a covered claim, that means that you can get a rental for the time being and not be out of pocket for that. All right, guys. Well, we hope this video helped you kind of navigate some claim stuff, gave you some tips about adjusters and how to handle, unfair claim practices, stuff like that. But let's recap a little bit here. Number one, make sure you always get a police report in a claim. Number two, make sure you always take pictures. Number three, make sure you always get as much information on the other party as possible. Their driver's license, all of that stuff, right? Phone number, and then make sure you have an agent that's super involved in your claims process. Anybody that writes trucking insurance should be involved in the claims process because they can be confusing. So yeah, those are the top 4 things that you need to do during a claim when it happens. Police report, pictures, as much information about the other party as possible, and then make sure you have an agent that's involved. And don't be afraid to argue with the company if they're not giving you a fair shake for a price on a truck or whatever, right? It's okay to argue with an adjuster and say, this isn't the right amount. That's not a fair amount. This is what it books for, and this is what I could sell it for right now, that type of stuff. But just make sure, guys, that whenever you go into these policies and you buy your policies, that you know what's excluded, that you know what the claims process is, that you kind of know how all that works, and your insurance agent should be able to explain all of that to you. But as you're navigating claims, there's a lot that can happen and just a lot that can get lost if you're not careful. So just make sure that you understand everything that's happening in your policy, and that can save you a lot of heartache whenever a claim does come. But I'll link some resources in the description below. We have some blog posts on our website about claims processes, about stuff like that if you'd like to go read. And if you have any questions about a claim and you're not a client of ours, we would love to give you some advice if we can do that too. So, but I'll link everything in the description below. Guys, we appreciate your time today. We appreciate you tuning in. Thank you, guys. We'll see you on the next one.